Hey folks, welcome to 9.2. Overall, Brewmaster is in a great spot here as we go to jump into the new patch. Most tanks are, to be totally honest with you, but Brewmaster is not seeing a ton of reworks here. Today we're going to start off with discussing the talents. This is what you're seeing right now is our Mythic Plus build that we recommend. Tier 1, Eye of the Tiger, no major change there. Tiger Lust, because somebody can always benefit from some additional movement speed. Light Brewing in Tier 3. Ring of Peace is an absolutely must-have in Mythic Plus, so that's dropping in there in Tier 4. Tier 5, Bob and Weeb is the go-to. This is probably the biggest change we see between this and our raid build. Tier 6, Rushing Jade Wind, pick up on that. Tier 7, High Tolerance, just make your stagger more effective and drive up your haste. Really, really hard to beat. Now, as far as a raid build goes, Tier 1, you can stick with Eye of the Tiger if that's where you prefer to go. I go with Chi Wave, that's what I'm recommending. Tier 2, Tiger's Lust. Tier 3 doesn't change. Tier 4, it's kind of like in the middle. You can summon the Black Ox if you need a little bit more provoking, but it's not usually a big issue in raids, so stick with Ring of Peace. Tier 5 is, as I mentioned, this is where the difference is, so I load up with Dampen Harm. Really just gives you that additional damage reduction. Really hard to beat. Tier 6, Rushing Jade Wind is just a real easy amount of passive health. Tier 7 again, no major change with High Tolerance. So overall, the class is in, like I mentioned, just an awesome spot overall. I'm really pleased with Brewmaster, and I think it's probably tied to the benefit of our tier sets coming back. So if you're not familiar, there's a couple of items here as far as the tier set bonuses from the new patch that are rolling out. So the 2 set is called Breath of the Cosmos. So targets ignited by Breath of Fire, basically they deal an additional 4% less damage to you. So that's a wicked passive benefit. The 4 set, if you're able to pick that up, gives you the benefit Keg of the Heavens. So Keg Smash deals an additional 50% damage, heals you for 66% of the damage dealt, grants 66% of damage dealt as a maximum health for 10 seconds. So this is actually going to drive up not only our survivability, but Brewmaster is going to be pumping. So really excited to see that roll out in the next little bit. A tier 2 piece isn't going to be super exciting, but overall that 4 piece is going to be amazing. If you're new to the class, this is a great time to join because overall we're going to be making a lot of fun happen. Really going to push up Brewmasters in Mythic Plus for Season 3. That health bonus is going to be absolutely fantastic. So as far as like your single best legendaries that you can expect, what you want to actually roll with is Storm Stout's Last Keg. So that gives your Keg Smash an additional 30% damage and gives it a second charge, which, like, yeah, again, absolutely one of the best ways to roll. What is really fun with 9.2 is, again, we're getting the ability to use double legendaries. So we'll use Storm Stout's Last Keg, and then we're going to either go with a Call to Arms if you're going with Kyrian. Kyrian's probably the best way to go for raiding and general Mythic Plus, but Bountiful Brew has actually got a little bit of a buff, and Necrolord actually starts getting a lot more competitive for higher end Mythic Plus. And if you're like me and you play both Brewmaster and Windwalker, Necrolord is the best for Windwalker, is what it's looking like in both raiding and Mythic Plus. So up to you. Kyrian, Necrolord, they're going to be 1, 2, and definitely the top recommended covenants you want to go with. And that'll inform which legendaries you'll want to load up on in addition to what you've got. That Bountiful Brew buff basically now allows Bone Dust Brew to proc whenever Bountiful Brew is active. Basically the procs add onto the existing Bone Dust Brew's remaining duration. So it allows us basically to have a much greater and increased reduction in terms of damage that's coming through. So tons of fun. You may see, depending on how the different legendaries roll out that you do have to actually take Stormsout's last keg and either put it onto your hands. That's probably the biggest thing. The ideal slot for it, Stormstout's last keg, was the belt, but that's where the Cinch of Unity is also going to need to drop in. Cinch of Unity, you can basically put that onto another item slot, or you can take Stormstout's last keg onto your gloves. So really take a little bit of time to look at optimizing. If you're looking to push some Mythic content right off the hop here with the new class or the new patch, it's gonna be a fun little time. Hopefully Blizzard's changes around how we're actually able to recraft legendaries makes a better quality of life for all of us. As far as overall best covenants, again, like we had mentioned before, Kyrian is probably the go-to. Necrolord's in second place, but if you're looking to play both, I'd recommend Necro, but either you won't have a whole lot of regret with. Necrolord's probably the only class that's seen any kind of like significant buff, and we'll see if that kind of continues and we see more players pushing plus 20 keys with Necrolord in Mythic Plus. Overall, folks, Stagger is still one of the best absolute tanking abilities in the game. The survivability of Brewmaster is really high, and with Mythic Touch, like, this is just a very, very hard class to necessarily beat. Overall, I'd recommend it both in Mythic Plus and Rating, and we'll see what the rest of the patch brings us. Thanks for checking out the guide. Let me know in the comments if there's anything additional you'd like to see touched on, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, folks. Later.